guys, it's me Carol. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I have a super exciting video because I'm doing my November wrap up. So basically I'll be talking about all the books that I read in the month of November. I was able to finish 7 books, which is pretty okay, nothing crazy for me. But I was really proud because I was able to read books from different genres and 2 ebooks, which is something that I never do. So that's exciting. And yeah, without further ado, let's talk books. So for my first book of November, I wanted something really light, kind of a little bit childish. So I went with Fantastic Mr. Fox by Roald Dahl. This was my sister's favorite book when she was a child, and I actually never read it, so I decided to give it a go this month. This book mainly follows this little fox who needs to feed his family, so he steals from 3 mean old men who own farms. These men are not happy that he's stealing their food, and they come up with a plan to kill the fox. This was a very fun and interesting book. I was rooting for the fox the whole time, but I'm a vegetarian and an animal advocate. So for me, this was a little hard to get through and a little bit sensitive. Even though this is for children, I caught myself being a little emotional towards the fox and what happens in this book. So I think a lot of people will enjoy it. It was a little bit more intense than I was expecting. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, but looking at it now, I would probably lower it to a 4. But it was still so cute. You can definitely understand why my sister loves this. I definitely recommend it if you want something light and easy to get through. The font is huge, the book is tiny, so you'll definitely be able to get through this in one sitting like I did. The next book I read this month was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. This was the chunkiest book I read this month with 624 pages, which was insane. And I do actually have a reading vlog dedicated to this book. If you're interested in watching it, I'll link it in the cards and the description box down below. I had a lot of interesting reactions while reading this book, especially chapter 55, if you know what I mean. This book was way better than the other book of the series, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first one. I thought this had a lot more plot. If you didn't know, this book series follows Feyre, this girl who lives in a world with high lords and mortal beings, and she kills a wolf, which really wasn't a wolf, and now she's in trouble. She was sent into the immortal lands, and it goes crazy from there. I had a lot of fun reading this book. It was so fun. I really recommend it. And in the end, I gave this book 4 stars. The next book I read this month was The Shining by Stephen King. And I actually plan to do a review of this book. I actually have it all tabbed. But this was so much fun. You probably heard of The Shining because of the very well-known movie, but if you don't, this book follows this family who moves into this hotel called the Overlook Hotel to be their caretaker during the months of winter. So they're going to be alone during 6 months to take care of this empty hotel. But what they didn't know is the hotel actually has a weird vibe to it, and they start to go crazy. This book was so fun. I had a great time reading this. I didn't want to put it down, I just wanted to keep reading. I watched the movie before reading this, and when I tell you that I understand the movie now because of this book, I mean it. This added a lot more depth to the characters, a lot more information to the movie, and it makes a lot more sense now. There is a different ending on this book though, but I won't say if I liked it less or more. You'll have to wait for my review of it, but I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I really recommend it. This is my, I think, 5th or 6th Stephen King that I've read so far, and it's actually one of my favorites, so I definitely recommend it. It's so different from anything else I've ever read. It's so unique, and I can definitely understand why it's a bestseller. This deserves the hype. The next book I read this month was The Once and Future Witches. I actually don't own a physical copy of it. I read it on my Kindle, but I'll put the picture here. This was my November book pick for my book club with Kayla called A Court of Books. If you're interested in checking that out, I'll link it in the cards and down below. So this was our November book pick, and we had so much fun talking about it in our live show. So this book follows these three sisters who live in a world where women don't have rights and witching is forbidden. Now, they don't agree with what's happening. They want women to have a word in the society. So they are actually witches, and they want to make the whole world know what women are capable of. This was such an interesting book. I'm not a big fan of fantasy, but this book made me want to rethink and maybe try more fantasy books because it was that good. I love the character development. I actually got really connected to the sisters and I almost cried. It was such a fun ride. The story was beautiful. The plot was interesting. The writing style is incredible. You feel like you're reading a poetry book throughout it. So incredible and so unique. I definitely recommend this book if you haven't checked it out already. It was a 5-star read, one of my favorites of this month. The next book I read this month was actually super out of my comfort zone, and it was a romance. I know. I decided to pick up Get a Life Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is a romance that has been super raved here on BookTube, and I decided to give it a go, and I read it fairly quickly. 2 days, which is not usual for me in romance, and I gotta say this was cute, this was fun. This book follows this woman called Chloe Brown who suffers from chronic illness, and after suffering an accident which almost kills her, she decides to create a list of all things she wants to do before she actually dies, and to be able to fulfill her wish, she needs to get help from her landlord called Red, this man, and it goes from there. I thought this book was really cute. I love the story. I did not expect such sexy scenes. I was a little surprised. I didn't know it was gonna have that, but it's okay. I understand it's romance. But one thing that really bothers me, I feel like the relationship's a little bit toxic. And I don't see anyone talking about it, but I felt like both of them together were a little toxic. They kept making each other apologize for reasons they didn't agree with. They still didn't want to apologize. I can't actually tell you which scene it was that made me think they were toxic and not really healthy, because I just got this vibe from them. I might be wrong, but while reading this, I was left a little uncomfortable, and I thought that sometimes, especially Chloe, was a little manipulating and a little controlling. So I don't know if that was just me. Maybe I have to reread this to see if my thoughts change on it, but that's what left me a little uncomfortable while reading this. In the end, I ended up giving this book 4 stars, which is not bad at all for me, especially in a romance, so that's fun. And I do recommend it if you want something fun, that keeps you interested, and that you want to finish in one day. The next book I read this month was also in my Kindle, and it's Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. I read this book because my sister read it and she told me I would love it, and so I decided to give it a go. This book follows Lily, who's a girl who leaves a red notebook in a bookstore full of clues, and whoever picks it up to actually meet up with her has to guess the clues. And this boy named Dash actually finds it, and it just goes from there. It was very cute, but I also thought some of the things were so weird, and like the last ending of it was so rushed. I thought the ending was done in a way that would only work out in books, not in real life, and I'm kind of new to this romance genre. So please let me know down below if all romances are done like that, where they just wrap it up in a bow, because I think what happened in the ending wouldn't have been so easy to fix as it was in the book. I personally think that it would have ruined what was happening there, but please let me know down below if that's something that happens in all romances or if it was just this one. But without that in mind, I really did enjoy this book. I thought it was very Christmassy and fun. It kept me intrigued and I wanted to keep reading, which is really nice. And in the end, I ended up giving this book 4 stars. And the last book that I read in November was actually the one that I enjoyed the most, and that was A Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I'm sorry, I said that so wrong. I apologize. This is a thriller that has been on my TBR for a super long time. And then Mel, one of my lovely subscribers, decided to reach out and ask me to buddy read this with her, and obviously I said yes, and we had so much fun. If If you ever want to buddy read something with me, feel free to reach out either in my comments down below or in any of my social medias. I'll link them all on the screen. And wow, this book. I love thrillers. As you guys may know, I am super obsessed with thrillers. I've read almost everything there is out there, every single subgenre, plot twist. I see that coming, but this caught me so off guard. The plot twist in this book, I was speechless. I thought it was one of the best plot twists I've ever read. I had goosebumps all over. It was amazing. So this book follows this girl who is in a mental institution because she's suspected to have killed her husband. But why suspected, not like actually killed? Because she's silent, she doesn't say a word, so they don't actually know what really happened. They just found her on top of her husband with a gun on her hand, and she was sent to the mental institution. And we follow this psychiatrist who wants to take care of her and try to make her talk. And wow. This is why I love thrillers. Like, this is a perfect example of why I love reading thrillers and mystery and why this is my favorite genre. I definitely recommend you pick this up. It's amazing. I totally recommend it. It was just unforgettable. That's all I have to say about it. Unforgettable. And I'll forever be grateful for it because it was amazing. So yeah, you guys, that was the end of my November wrap up. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know down below how many books you read, and if you've read any of the books that I read this month, I would love to know. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If yes, give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below to be a part of this wonderful family. I would love to have you here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!